A controversial anti-abortion film considered too contentious to be shown in many Canadian cities is showing in Sudbury starting today. The biographical drama is called Unplanned. It's about a former Planned Parenthood clinic director turned anti-abortion activist, and it's sparking fierce conversations about free speech and reproductive health. Up north, Wendy Bird dropped by a protest at Imagine Cinemas earlier today to find out more.
My name's Laur O'Gorman, and I have a PhD in Northern and Rural Health. I specialize in women's health research and policy. There's a movie out called Unplanned. The messages it's conveying is very dangerous for women.
Why do you say it's dangerous?
Well, first, it's actually built on lies. The person that it's following says that she had to leave Planned Parenthood because of ethical issues from having witnessed an abortion, but there is no abortion on record that corresponds with the one she said that she went to, and what she described is technically impossible, medically speaking. So basically, they built this whole film around lies that this one person who claimed to have seen an abortion.
So this movie you're saying is based on a lie. What ultimately is the message that they're trying to convey that you are against?
Well, they're fighting back against women's reproductive choices, and specifically abortion in this case. And in the U.S., abortion's been a very contentious issue for a long time. We think in Canada it won't be, but it has become contentious. The Niagara Falls MPP said that he wants to make abortion unthinkable in his lifetime, and certain funding for abortion is less available than it is for other things. For instance, if you live in the far north and your access to medicine is through telemedicine, then the abortion pill is not something that they can prescribe to you via telemedicine for no reason other than it's controversial. So women's rights in Canada are also being encroached on, and if we don't stand up to propaganda like this, we could lose even more of what we gained.
What is it you think that people going to this film in Northern Ontario need to keep in mind?
Well, first they need to keep in mind that it's fiction, that nothing about this movie, it's filmed like a documentary. It almost claims to be a documentary, but it's all fiction. And in the North, you have to realize how little access there is to abortion services for women. People in Timmins and Kirkland Lake and throughout the North often have to come to Sudbury or even Toronto to access services. They're supposed to be accessible, legal, and freely available in Ontario. The fact is they just aren't for a lot of people. And so films like this that further stigmatize abortion makes it even more difficult for women, particularly those in northern rural communities, to access abortion services. I'm afraid of the repercussions of showing films like this and the impact that it can have on people who are questioning whether abortion should be available, and on women who have had abortions, who see films like this and it tells them that they're a monster, and the impact that can have on people.
My name is Sue Ann Jackson Land. I feel that this movie is trying to represent one side of the coin while not really taking into consideration that there are two sides to that coin. I am a Christian. I believe very strongly in biblical principle. My life experience is many, many things. For me, I regret my decision because I made it when I was delusional. I made it when I was addicted. I made it when I was homeless. I made it for so many reasons. And there's not a day to this day that I don't remember that little soul would have been 34, 35 years old. However, I had the right to make that decision. I had the necessity to make that decision, and I made that decision.
Participating in this protest today, how does that make you feel? Is this triggering you in terms of all those emotions?
What's happening to me is I'm getting a chance to make a very public amends to that little soul, to tell them that they are loved, to tell them how much it hurt, and to tell them that there is hope.
Your name is?
Ryan Wildgoose. I'm a PhD student in the Human Studies program at Laurentian. I study a lot of marginalization and oppression on the topic of gender and sexuality, and the film Unplanned definitely falls under the oppression of gender, This is just another way of the media using propaganda to try to control women's reproductive rights. The reproductive rights of anyone with a uterus, women, trans men, non-binary individuals. And it's dangerous because not everybody is ready to have children. Not everybody has the health or body to have children. Sometimes pregnancy and childbirth can be extremely dangerous. And this is just another way of trying to tell people, tough it out and have that baby, even if it's going to potentially end their lives, potentially ruin their lives. And aside from just even the health risks, it's nobody's business who decides to have an abortion and who doesn't. It is the choice of the individual, and it should be the choice of the individual. There should not be any sort of propaganda like this movie, like this film that claims to be a documentary but is not, showing inaccurate information about what actually happens during an abortion.
Those were the voices of protesters at a rally outside Imagine Cinemas in downtown Sudbury. There were about half a dozen people there around noon, speaking with Up North's Wendy Bird. Organizers said different shifts of protesters would be there throughout the day, and the theater is across the street from us here at CBC Sudbury, and there are currently about a half a dozen protesters there still this hour. Today is the official launch of the film Unplanned at dozens of theaters across Canada. In Northern Ontario, it's screening now in Sudbury, as mentioned, and then a couple of days later in Timmins. Across the country, the film is being shown at Cineplex, Landmark, and Imagine Cinemas. Up north reached out to Imagine Cinemas for comment, but we haven't received a response yet. A few days ago, Cineplex tweeted its statement about screening the film. Cineplex President Alice Jacob wrote, and I quote, "I understand and can appreciate the concerns about the film, but it is up to each of us to decide whether or not we want to see it. In Canada, we have that option, and I think it is an important thing to remember." Are you planning on seeing this film? Have you already seen it? Let us know on our talkback line. The number is 1-844-856-6784 or 1-844-85-NORTH, or reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter at Up North CBC.